Hello, my name is Michelle Wiesbrook. I'm a state specialist in pesticide safety education with University of Illinois Extension. In this training module, I will cover community garden pest management with a focus on weeds, insects, and diseases. These pests can damage or kill plants and reduce yield. Pest management is an important part of garden care. General garden care practices are covered by Rhonda Faree in another module. We'll focus on weeds first. A weed is a plant growing where it is not wanted. Weeds in community gardens can create an undesirable appearance when left to grow. Hundreds of thousands of seeds can develop from weeds and blow into neighboring plots. Weeds can compete with vegetables for space, water, and nutrients. Some weeds, such as ragweeds, produce large amounts of pollen, which contribute to allergies. Some gardens will not allow you to return to the community garden if you allow weeds to grow excessively. Manage weeds in your garden plot so you will be welcomed back to the community garden the following season. It is helpful to know what your problem weeds are. Certainly, by becoming familiar with your weeds' biology or life cycle, you will be better armed in controlling them, thus making your weed control battles easier to fight and win. Good weed control begins with proper weed identification. Knowing this information will help you with controlling it. It will assist you in choosing the right method or product to use, as well as determining when the weed will be most susceptible. Consult with your local U of I Extension office for assistance with any pest identification and management recommendations. They are there to help. Weed control is one of the primary maintenance operations in a vegetable garden. Control weeds early before they set seed to prevent future weeds. Remove hand-pulled weeds from the site as they can still develop seeds before dying, and some can reroot. Not only can weed seeds be abundant, but they can also be quite long-lived in the soil, with some species, such as velvet leaf, remaining viable for as many as 50 years. When short on time, quick hand removal of flowers and seed heads can help slow production of seeds until more time and effort can be spent another day. Mulch can be used to prevent weeds. Organic materials such as wood or grass mulch, manure, and compost can provide many benefits to the garden, but unfortunately, these materials can also contain weed seeds. Be sure to inspect materials carefully and obtain them from a known source free of problem weed infestations, if at all possible. I'll cover mulch more in just a minute. Prevention practices can go a long way, but weeds are opportunistic and can invade despite your best efforts. Existing weeds can be controlled by physical or mechanical means. Certain herbicides can provide long-term control and perhaps very targeted control. Systemic products can be used to move down into deep roots or rhizomes to kill persistent perennials. Some tips for using these control methods will be discussed later on. It's best to take an integrated approach where a combination of management practices are used. Mulch suppresses weed growth by preventing light necessary for growth from reaching the weed seeds or seedlings. Mulch will often smother weed seedlings before they emerge from the soil by providing a physical barrier. Some weeds are lucky enough to survive and push through the mulch. An added benefit is that mulch helps keep weeds shallow-rooted and makes them easier to pull by hand. This method controls many annual weeds, those that germinate from seed each year. Perennial weeds usually must be removed by repeated cultivation or hoeing. Mulch can be used to conserve moisture through improved water retention. In mulched beds, soil temperatures are kept moderate. Soil erosion and compaction are minimized, thus improving soil structure, and produce is kept clean. Mulch also helps reduce the risks of soils that contain high levels of lead. Rhonda discusses this more in her module. One last benefit is that mulch adds beauty and contrast to the garden. Mulch can be made of organic or synthetic materials. Synthetic mulches include landscape fabrics, plastics, recycled rubber, and many more. Gardeners have been known to get creative. Mulch materials are sometimes categorized as being woven or non-woven, which is often spun-bonded. Each has advantages and disadvantages. Typically, woven materials are stronger, while non-woven materials are lighter weight and easier to cut. Some last longer than others, and there are price differences. They are available in different sizes, and some have pre-cut layouts for ease in planting. Others must be used between planted rows or planting holes must be cut. Organic mulch materials include straw, hay, grass clippings, leaf and grass compost, pine needles, wood chips, well-rotted animal manure, and others. Use the most economical mulch available. For good results, apply to a depth of 2 to 3 inches. Mats, squares, and rolls are also available from such materials as cocoa fiber and burlap. A combination of several layers of newspaper covered by organic material has shown promise as a summer mulch. Use papers with black ink rather than colored ink. Most black ink used for newsprint is soy-based. As organic mulches decompose, they return organic matter and some plant nutrients to the soil while improving soil tilth. However, you may need to add nitrogen fertilizer to prevent nitrogen deficiency in the mulched crop. Existing weeds can be controlled by mechanical means, where they are physically removed. For most home vegetable gardens, hoeing, rototilling, or hand pulling are the best weed control options. Keep in mind, this process must be repeated as new weeds will germinate. One cultivation alone can remove many weeds in a short amount of time. However, cultivation also brings viable weed seed up to the surface where they can obtain enough light to germinate, which means future weeds. Cultivation is helpful, but no one system is perfect. The best management programs use an integrated approach, where preventative methods are used too. Cultivation works best on small annual weeds, as perennial plant pieces can be spread and larger plants may require repeat cultivation. Use shallow cultivation to avoid damaging vegetable plant roots. Also, avoid cultivating wet soil so as not to damage the soil structure. Use sharp tools for best results with the least effort. Cutting weeds at or just below the soil surface can minimize the likelihood that once buried seeds will now become a problem. When hand pulling, wear gloves as some weeds can result in a skin rash. Weeds tend to pull easiest when soil is moist. Be sure to collect and dispose of any weeds that have gone to seed already. Burning may or may not be an option. Very few herbicides are labeled for home garden use. Herbicides used by commercial growers are often very crop specific and would cause damage to certain vegetables if used on the wide variety of plants grown in the home vegetable garden. The product label will state which crops or plants the herbicide may be used on legally. Be sure to read and follow all label directions carefully. The label will provide health and safety information about the product and give directions on how and when to apply it. The rate will be a specific amount. Applying too little will result in poor weed control. Applying too much may result in injured vegetable plants. It is against the law to not read and follow label directions, and certainly it is not wise. The product label will also list weed species that can be controlled. Be aware that you may not find a product that you can use on all of your desirable plant species that will control all of your weed species. Other weed control methods will need to be used. Certain herbicides can prevent weed germination for many weeks. Others can be used to kill persistent perennial weeds, but only the ones that are treated that day. Some are applied to the soil and watered or tilled in. Some are applied directly to the weed's foliage. Before you buy any pesticide, Be sure to do your homework so that you buy something suited for your needs, and buy only what you are going to use that season. Some herbicides are available in a ready-to-use formulation, while others require mixing with water. The latter may save you money, but you must consider the added exposure risk. Also, would you be buying more than you need? Disposal or storage must be considered. There are many decisions to make. Contact your local University of Illinois Extension office if you have questions. For more information on weed control, consult the University of Illinois Handbook, Pest Management for the Home Landscape. Now that you know some methods for managing weeds, you will also need to think about insect pests. Insect pests can create a gardening challenge by damaging plants and produce. Managing them can require some planning under a community garden setting. Familiarizing yourself with the common insect pests and diseases of the plants you grow will prove useful. As with weeds, proper identification is critical to the success of your control. Consider the options as you plan your garden. Some pests can be avoided by not planting certain vegetables. Others can be reduced by planting pest-prone vegetables every other year. However, this trick will work only if they aren't planted in nearby gardens. Hand-picking pests, such as the adults and large larvae of Colorado potato beetle, can be effective on some plants. Japanese beetles may be knocked from leaves into a bucket of soapy water. Of course, good old-fashioned squishing with a foot works well too. Traps, barriers, beneficial insects, repellents, synthetic insecticides, and organic insecticides are all possible options. Pesticides, including insecticides, may be prohibited in your garden. If allowed, be sure to read the label carefully before applying insecticides. Remember, the label is the law, and it helps ensure safety. Insecticides can be harmful to beneficial pollinators. Their use should be limited whenever possible. Maintenance can help by removing weeds, debris, and spoiled fruit where insects may harbor. Also, check regularly for insect pests. Look closely for insect holes in leaves and hand-picked insects as you see them. Some insects, like tomato hornworm, can blend in with the stems and foliage and be difficult to see. Frass or excrement on the leaves can be an indicator that a caterpillar is nearby. Barrier methods like Remay or other floating row cover products can be effective. Remay is a polyester cloth that allows 80% light and water through, but provides a barrier for insects. These products should be secured over plants early in the season before insects are active. Rocks or soil should secure the bottom edges to the ground so insects can't slide in. Vegetables and fruits that require insect pollination, like melons, will need to be uncovered at a specific time. You can keep row covers on some vegetables like broccoli and other cole crops for insect prevention until harvest. One final note on dealing with insect pests is that it's important to relate to what your crop is. The leaves may be damaged, but there may not be cause for concern unless you will be eating the leaves. A little damage on carrot foliage from black swallowtails will not hurt the root crop. Put things in perspective. The grasshoppers eating the corn leaves will be less important than the corn earworm eating the kernels. You will be eating the kernels and not the leaves. Many times there is no need to worry about the quality of the leaves as long as there is enough green to produce the food. Additionally, some insect pests may be easily seen on flowers, but may not be causing any damage. This is western corn rootworm that has moved in from a nearby cornfield to check out this squash flower. Let's move on to diseases. Disease management is also important in the vegetable garden, as diseases can reduce both yield and quality of harvest. Cultural practices can be used to prevent many diseases that are caused by pathogens, including viruses, nematodes, fungi, and bacteria. These pathogens are spread by insects, transplants, water splash, wind, and other means. Prevention is always best. Choose a site that is well drained, sunny, and with good airflow. Ensure that plants are spaced for proper airflow and planted at the correct depth. Good garden sanitation is important. Remove dead leaves and severely diseased plants from the garden. Compost only healthy plant parts, as certain pathogens can survive composting. Avoid allowing extra fruit and vegetables to decay in the garden, and control weeds and volunteer plants that may harbor disease. Many pathogens attack related plants and can build up in the soil over time. Therefore, rotate your plantings with different crops to prevent disease. For example, solanaceous crops such as tomatoes and peppers should not be planted in the same spot in 2 successive years. Choose disease-free plant varieties whenever possible, and always start with pathogen-free seeds, plants, and planting materials. Buy seed from reputable sources and examine plants carefully for signs of disease before buying and planting. Choose plants that are appearing healthy and free of black spots or yellowing. Do not work with wet plants, as this can spread disease. Water early in the day and avoid overhead watering. Mulch can be used to prevent fruit rots and blossom end rot of tomato and pepper by maintaining soil moisture. There are some diseases that can occur yearly, regardless of cultural practices. Therefore, applications of fungicides and bactericides may be used for early blight disease of potato and tomato and powdery mildew of cucurbits. These materials must be applied before the disease occurs on a 7 to 10 day schedule. Remember that fungicides may not be allowed in the community garden, but if you are able to use them, read and follow the label carefully. These are just a few preventative methods to avoid disease problems. Contact your local extension office for details regarding your specific crop. Many community gardens do not allow pesticides. Check your garden's rules and ask questions before using any products. Pesticides should be used only after all other control options have been tried. When choosing pesticide products, it's important to choose the right product for your needs. You'll need one that is approved for use on your crop and one that claims to be effective on your pest. Read the label to determine these things, as well as how, when, and where to apply the product. You'll want to apply when the pest is susceptible. Once your product has been applied, you may have to wait a certain period of time to re-enter the garden. If the label does not indicate a specific amount of time, wait until the sprays have dried. You may also be required to wait a certain period of time to harvest produce. This information will be given on the label. During this time, sunlight, oxygen, soil microbes, and the plants themselves will degrade the product to a level that is legal and safe to consume. Flagging your applications is not required, but it is a good idea so that unsuspecting bystanders will avoid the area. Pesticides are an important tool in pest management, but in order to use pesticides legally and safely, there are things you must know. All pesticide users are required to read and follow the product label directions. It is the best source of information for using a product safely and accurately. Labels will list crops, plants, or areas where the product may be used. This varies from product to product. Similar products may be available and may be tempting to use. The product you use must be labeled for your crop. The label will provide guidance on when to make your applications. Typically, hot temperatures should be avoided. Light winds between 3 and 10 miles per hour blowing away from sensitive plants are best, so that spray droplets blow toward the target and not onto neighboring plants instead, resulting in injury. When mixing, loading, and using pesticides, be sure to wear the proper protective clothing. The label will specify what is required. Certainly, you reduce your risk when using pesticides when you cover your skin. At a minimum, you should wear long pants, a long-sleeve shirt, a hat, and shoes with socks. Gloves should be chemical resistant. Label-provided rates must be followed and never exceeded. Too much or too little will not be effective. Plus, it is illegal and can result in produce that is not safe to consume. Homemade pesticide recipes abound, but they are not recommended. EPA-registered products come with label directions for rate and safety information. Homemade recipes don't come with this information. While home remedies may sometimes work, many have not been tested for effectiveness or safety. They commonly cost more than labeled, registered pesticides which have been tested for human health and environmental safety. To avoid potential problems, stick with approved pesticide products. Consider that some products and locations could require pesticide certification and training. Unless the label says otherwise, all general use products can be used on private property that you own without a license. State and federal laws require that you need a license if you are using a restricted use product at any time or location, even on property you own. The label will clearly state at the top if the product is a restricted use pesticide, or RUP, which is for sale and use only by certified applicators. However, you might also need a license to use products on property that you rent, lease, or otherwise do not own, such as working at a school, community garden, prairie restoration, or nature center. By being licensed, you are demonstrating to the public that you know how to apply pesticides safely and effectively. Illinois has several categories of pesticide use, including commercial, public, and more. Where no money is exchanged for application, a commercial, not-for-hire license is needed. This probably is the case for most community gardens. Gardeners must be licensed to apply pesticides in any public area, which includes projects in schools, community gardens, parks, and more. This includes all pesticides, even organic products, and even those you use at home without a license. So if you apply Roundup to control weeds in the fence row around a community garden at a housing project, you need a license. Pesticide training materials are available from the University of Illinois Extension Pesticide Safety Education Program, or PSEP. Check out their website at www.pesticidesafety.illinois.edu to purchase training materials and view training and testing schedules. There you will also find a link to the Illinois Department of Agriculture website for more information on pesticide licensing in Illinois. For a fact sheet on making pesticide applications in school and community gardens, go to go.illinois.edu/pesticide community garden.